Welcome to your Ergo Break. So today we're going to talk about a bunch of things that you can do to sit better, provide a better space around you, and really go into some details on ergonomics in general. Now, my name is Brett Weiss. I'm a physical therapist, certified ergonomic assessment specialist, and co-founder of a company called ErgoSesh. Now, at ErgoSesh, what we recognize and understand is that the new modern office is no longer at the desks in the offices. They're at home, at coffee shops, at a hot desk, and in the new post-COVID world, you're going to see a lot more hot desks. So the idea of ergonomics in general is just fitting a desk to a person. And so typically there's a person that comes into your office that does this for you. With ErgoSesh, we understand that it's more than that, and it's an educating and it's an empowering of you to do these changes on your own, because in these new hot desk situations or at your home, you're not going to have someone there. And at the same time, you might show up to work on a Monday at this office, and then on Tuesday someone else is sitting there. Or if you work at a shared office space setting, it's important for you to understand how to make these changes yourself, what changes are necessary for you, and really what types of things to look for in ergonomic furniture when you're buying them, so that you don't just give in to the marketing and you really are a more educated consumer as well. So in this Ergo Break, we're going to cover an Ergo checkup. So we're going to kind of run through what is the standard guidelines for how to sit. It's not this man right here, although that may look like most of your desks about 3 p.m. The Ergo Office will be what kind of things are important and what are the top 5 things that are essential components in building a home office for yourself or at your actual office. And in there, we want to talk about what are the top 6 features of an ergonomic chair, because there is a ton of marketing out there for every chair is ergonomic, and getting them cheap, and they have all the features, but are they quality, and how long is the warranty? There's a lot of things we want to talk about and really educate you so that you are a more educated consumer. There is a general shift in the world in the last 10 years at least towards better health. And that's mental health, physical health. People are eating better in general. Nutrition is more knowledgeable. We're more knowledgeable about nutrition. But we haven't really applied this to our work yet too much. We still, by the time we get to the office, we still kind of look like this at around 3 p.m. And that's what we call the 3 p.m. slump. And so I want to talk about the big elephant in the room. And the big elephant in the room is pain. Now, when you ask someone about their pain, the common response is, I don't have any pain. Or, well, it's nothing, it's just normal pain. Well, that's not necessarily true. How many of you had pain in the last 6 months? So if you look back at 6 months, have you had any pain, neck, back, wrist, elbow, ankle, any of these things? You might be asking, why do I have pain? Well, the answer to that is a little more complicated. However, there are some common things that we find in our world that really foster that type of injury. The first thing is our cell phones. I think at this point people are well aware of the fact that our cell phones hurt us. There may not be understanding some of the physics why. When your head is on your body, standing upright, it's about 10 to 15 pounds, 10 to 12, 10 to 15 pounds. The second your head starts migrating forward over that phone, the lever arm gets longer, the physics of it make it about 60 pounds at your neck. So if I were to tell you to take a 60-pound weight and carry it around your city, but you've been carrying 10 pounds, that's all you're meant to do. But all of a sudden I've dropped 60 pounds in your head and said, go for it for hours. You'd be pissed off too. And that's what these muscles are talking to. So a lot of people get a lot of tension back in their neck. And it's not that there's any problem with these muscles all the time. It's that they're just kind of tired of holding that much load for that long. They're not built for that. Another area is the low back. With chairs, the disc pressure in your back, you have these little discs in between your spine, and they support your spine and help space so that the nerve roots have space to move. When you sit, there's an immediate increase in lumbar spine pressure, and that causes pressure on the discs. So if you look at this segment here and this segment here, you'll see the spine flexing forward, And so as we sit, more compression goes on the front of those discs, and you can think of them like jelly donuts. When you put pressure on the front of a jelly donut, the jelly will move that way. And the problem is that that way has nerve roots sticking out, and that's how a lot of people get disc bulges, herniated discs, and prolapsed discs. Just a bunch of different names for the same condition, but basically that's what causes a lot of sciatica issues and things like that. So one of the ways that we can assess this is by, or improve this, is by making sure you have a chair that has the ability to recline about 10 degrees, and that feature is pretty key. We'll talk about that later in the chair, but just look at this chart. As you go every 10 degrees forward, there is a marked increase in loading through the spine, all the way up to 190% of standing on that disc. And so just getting the back to be about 110 degrees when you work makes a substantial unloading of the spine in the places you don't want it. The average person sits about 6.5 hours a day, and the average person drives their car less than about an hour a day. Why do we bring this up? What's the first thing you do when you get in your car? Sit down, check the mirrors, right? Adjust your seat. You adjust your seat, sometimes even if it's your own car, just because maybe it just doesn't feel right that day. And you'll do that for a 3 to 5 minute drive, right? Not even just for the long drives. We don't apply that same theory and practice to when we sit in our chair, and we do that for 40 plus hours a week. And so this has been mind-boggling to me, because we just don't make that connection. And I think that's a really important thing to think about. You think about how much time you spend in that chair. You want it to be quality, but also you want to know what you're doing with it, right? You want to have the tools to adjust it, and you want to actually be mindful when you work and sit down and assess where it's at, just like you would when you get in a car. So how do you do that? So here's a 5-step process we made here for you to just check to see, do I even need an ErgoSesh? Do I even need someone to tell me how to fix my stuff up, or am I good? First thing, we're going to look at the feet. Are they flat on the floor? And if they are flat on the floor, great. Do you feel some weight coming through your feet? Are the knees at about a 90-degree angle? Your back should be all the way back in the chair. Your butt should be touching the back of the chair. And there should be about 3 to 4 inches behind your knee to the chair. Your elbows should be about a 90-degree angle with some weight coming through them on the armrests. Shoulders should feel pretty relaxed. And when we're looking at the monitor, you should be able to sit back in your chair, reach out and almost touch the screen, just out of arm's reach, fingertips reach. In terms of the height of the monitor, you want to think about it being at the top 75%, your eye line. So just below the web address bar is where you should be looking. Now, if any of these things aren't happening, you want to really look into this. And so you want to say, like, okay, how did it measure up? Does my furniture even allow me to do these things, to get close to them? How many of these things were you able to do? And that's going to tell you whether or not you need different pieces to the puzzle to make this actually more attainable. So let's talk about building that Ergo office. Here's some 5 essential components. The ergonomic chair. Now this is probably the most important one if you sit a lot. If you stand, the desk might be more important. But for the ergonomic chair, what you want to look for are 6 key features. Number 1, adjustable height. You want to make sure that chair goes very low and very high. Generally, a cheaper chair will not translate as high and low, so your desk, it may not work for that. So you always want to look at the chair height. Adjustable seat depth. Cheaper models won't have this. Some better quality products will. The pan itself should be able to slide forward and back that you're sitting on, which makes it shorter or longer based on your leg length. You want to have a chair that has an adjustable seat angle, so we can talk about that low back pressure we talked about earlier. You want to have a chair that has fully adjustable armrests, so you could lift them, put them down. Hopefully you could find ones that have slide in and out, twist in and out, and even some chairs like the a couple of the ones we love, spin in 360 degrees, which allows different width in the front than the back because the armrest is shaped differently. So if you're a shorter person or a thicker person or a narrower person, your elbows may need to sit in a different spot. And you want a really comfortable seat cushion, or if you have a mesh chair like the one you're seeing here, you want the webbing of the mesh to be extremely supportive and durable. One thing I will warn you about the cheaper chairs out there online is that they look very nice. However, they will wear down and the mesh will sag very quickly if the fabric is not of high quality. Some other points we want to talk about when considering a chair, we have on the right here, you'll see seat pan size options. Now, if you buy a chair off the shelf, you'll get what you're paying for, and you won't get as much adjustability. You may get those features on the left, but you can't really pick and choose the actual size of the chair you're sitting in. So if you're a smaller person, you may need a small size chair that's shorter and narrower. If you're a larger person, you may need a much larger seat pan. Higher quality chairs will give you that adjustability option, and they're more made to order. Mesh versus upholstered. Mostly, this is just a preference issue. And a style and a design issue. However, upholstered chairs tend to be more supportive and feel much more supported when you sit down on them. So a mesh chair will have a little more bounce to it. The pro of a mesh chair is that it allows a little more air through the chair, so it may not feel as hot. However, some of the chairs that we love have the backing of a upholstered chair, but have holes through it so that it actually does get that. So it depends on the model you get, but always watch out for that. In terms of wheel type, this is an area that I think most people don't even think about. If you have hardwood floors, you need different types of wheels than carpet floors, and so they make wheels for each type. So just always consider the wheel type and the flooring you're going to use it on. Invest in quality chairs. I cannot say this enough. You would spend 40 plus hours a week sitting in this chair. It is a fraction of the cost of a mattress that you sleep in for 6 hours, maybe 7 hours a night. A chair you sit in for 10 hours, 8 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours a day. So it's even if not more than the amount of time you're going to spend in on your mattress. So just really give it the quality it needs. You want a chair that has a warranty for at least 10 years. You want the company that you're buying it from to say, we will support this chair for 10 years. We believe in this chair for 10 years. And so if you're going to spend up on a chair, make sure that it's got a quality warranty there. The sit-stand desk. This is becoming a lot more popular now, and we love it. The key is it provides mobility, right? So you don't have to sit or stand all day. We always say in the business, the best posture is the next posture. I've mentioned this before. The best thing you can do is get up and then also sit down. So what you're looking for is electronic height adjustability. If you find you can save some money, you can get the cranking ones. It's an option. However, I would recommend if you have any shoulder, elbow, or neck injuries, I think this type of motion repetitively up and down is just aggravating the issues. So I think going electronic on these is not a huge increase in price, and I think it's worth it. You want to get position memory settings so that if you have a session with us, or if you have someone that actually recommends where it should be, you finally figure out that right height, you just hold it and set that memory, just like in a car. So you can set it for sitting, for standing, and then you can easily move between without any issues. Quality motors. This is something you may not have thought of, but the motor in an electric desk is known very much to break down over time if it's a cheaper desk. And so what you're looking for in a company is a company that stands by the motor for at least 5 years. So they say that they'll cover any issues to this for 5 years. For the desks, it should be at least 10 years because they should be pretty much made of steel. They're pretty durable and should be fine. A monitor arm, really important. Don't get a sit-stand desk without one of these. Your torso length and your leg length are totally different for people, right? So what you are in height sitting down is totally different than what you are standing up in terms of the relationship of the monitor to your body. So what you're looking for is a gas spring mechanism, which is a really good way because then when you move the monitor, it won't just, it's not as clunky. It'll just like move when you place it there, it stays. You want some cable management so that you don't have wires hanging out. And just always check the weight capacity of the monitor it's going to hold to make sure that if you have a huge monitor, you need a heavy duty one. Fourth step, external keyboard and mouse. So, although it's hard to learn, the split keyboard is a really good option. There is no way to work ergonomically from a laptop. The monitor and the keyboard are way too close together, and so your best bet is to take your laptop, chuck it into a station on your desk, and you've got a home setup too. When we're talking about keyboards, even if you don't do a split keyboard, you want to get a keyboard that has no number pad. And that's because the mouse will then be way too far to the side and it's not in your center. When we're talking about a mouse, you have many options for mice. Our favorite options are a semi-vertical mouse and the roller mouse, which is definitely the more high-end model, and you can research on how that works, but it's just a different model, and it allows your whole hand to move, and you don't have to actually move away from the keyboard. Current evidence is that there is not a huge improvement in carpal tunnel symptoms and all these wrist symptoms when you go to a vertical mouse. So current evidence does not suggest that that's substantially better, but you will read a lot of marketing that says that it is, but there's no current evidence to show that it's dramatically changing the pressure in your carpal tunnel. So we stick with this semi-vertical, which kind of marries the two, from a standard mouse to this vertical mouse, which is kind of hard to navigate. The fifth one we're talking about today is balance boards and or anti-fatigue mats. Now, we say stand up. Well, once you're standing all day, you're loading in one spot, and that is how you get joints to get angry. Arthritis, tendinitis, your arches will get weak. I mean, all these things can happen. So what you want to do is challenge your balance. Now, the point of these things is not to unload you, it's to put you off balance just a little bit. We have had many people send us emails about big circular balance boards that are meant for balance training. Totally different. Do not buy a balance training device while you're trying to work. It puts you way off balance and you'll probably just fall. So these little balance boards are very subtle off balance. And then you have an anti-fatigue mat, which is a very, very good way because it puts you so little off balance, but basically what happens is it just slowly shifts your weight throughout the day. And so the feet are taking up the load of your body at different spots throughout the day. So it's a really good way to distribute your weight throughout the day. So you've bought this furniture, you've got something, you've set yourself up for the long haul because you know now you're working from home a lot and you're really investing in your furniture, right? You said that. So that's it, right? You did it. This is you. You're standing there, you're looking good, you've got your monitor arm, you've got your desk, and you shouldn't have any issues or pain, right? Unfortunately not. We found that the real key is educating yourself and empowering yourself to keep the changes and understand the changes with the furniture. No ergonomic furniture that comes out of a box is ergonomic on its own, right? It's not inherently ergonomic. It is just a thing that has adjustable features, and you are the person that should be able to be there to adjust those features to yourself. We love the example of, it's kind of like having a Ferrari in your garage, right? But not knowing how to drive, right? So it's kind of not the same value. So here's our process at ErgoSesh. What we do is we start with a pre-screen. So we have you fill out this questionnaire. It takes about 15 minutes. You take a photo, a couple shots of your space, your lighting, your flooring. It's all part of this process. We want to see it ahead of time. We look at this, we look at your past medical history and everything that's currently hurting or not hurting and what you're feeling, and we account for that in the session. So we get a good idea of the person that's coming to the session before you even get there. During our session, we'll assess what's going on, we'll adjust, make little fixes in the moment using books, using different things we'll find around the house or apartment, and we'll educate you on why we're doing these things and how that relates to the things that are already painful or the past injuries you've had, right? Or just anything that's important to you that you're feeling is tight or whatever. And so then what we do is after our session, we'll have a report. We'll write this detailed report with solutions for how to permanently fix these things. What products are great. We have amazing relationships with a company called ErgoCentric, and their products are very good, and we stand by them. And so we really recommend those, and and then also search the internet for other things for you, and we'll provide suggestions to really anywhere. However, we always want to stand by what we're doing, and so we really made it a big point to really build a relationship with this company that has very, very inline values as we do. We've seen it, we've used it, I own it. It's stuff we can stand behind. So we provide all that. So we really want to take you through this whole process, and then finally, a few weeks later, about a month later, we have you reach back out to us when you've received all your products, and we do a complimentary follow-up. It's all included in the original cost. We want to see you through the whole process. We want to make sure that you're taken care of at every step of the way, and by the time you're done, you've learned something, you've changed your space, and you know how to drive that car. So, if you're ready, you can book your ErgoSesh at ergosesh.com, and you can check out our shop. Thank you so much for participating in this Ergo break. I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.